Hey everyone, welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. I just got off a call with a lot of awesome creators, Pokemon creators, and friends on the topic of Pokemon Legends ZA. It's almost been a year now of absolute silence from the Pokemon Company, from Game Freak. The main question that is on all of our minds is what defines the Legends format? We only have one game to go off of, and we get another one right around the corner. Is this game going to take place in the future or the past? What is the gameplay going to be? What kind of features will be available to us? We know Megas are returning, but will we also see these ancient forms of Pokemon that we know and love? Are we going to see these prehistoric evolutions? What about ancestors? What about the crafting system? Alpha Pokemon, space-time distortions. The main thing here is that Pokemon Legends Arceus introduced so many wonderful things to the Pokemon franchise. And if these games take place in the future, we wonder if all that will be lost. Could this Legends ZA game really be closer to a Scarlet and Violet experience? In this video, you're going to hear ideas and theories by Lockstin, Zactoshi, GatorX, Hybrid Hero, AJ from Redirect, as well as Lutu and the rest of the Hidden Power crew. At the end of this discussion, we even talk a little bit about Pokemon's 30th year anniversary and a potential Kanto sequel or remake that's more in line with a Legend-style gameplay rather than your classic Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and enjoy this exclusive discussion. What are you guys excited about with Legends ZA? Because it is presumably going to be the next game. No. Yeah.
Well, there's one thing that is really interesting about it. It is something that we know or that we can assume from the Gen 6 stuff. I don't know if anybody, the Gen 6 leaks. In the Gen 6 documentation, particularly for the Southern Kalos stuff, all of that was not ever meant to be an X and Y. That explicitly says, like, upper version, Kujira, like, it doesn't appear in that game. And so it would have been for a Pokemon Z, quote-unquote. Also, what it says is that at some point during 2013, all of that was moved to Kazumasa Iwa's personal, repository. So if he is directing, with Legends, we're probably going to get some ideas that would or would not have made the cut because he literally has had and sat on all of that content for about 10 years.
That's a good point. And just to back you up, I mean, some of it is interpretive, but I do, look, now that we were able to see so many of the beta Pokemon, it is pretty obvious that most of the designs end up getting reused in some way or reworked into new designs. Not all of them, but if we were to assume the same thing for all of this other content from Gen 6, it's fair to think that a lot of that stuff, if even 50% of it, could be carried over and reimagined or brought into the canon that way, into Legends ZA.
Yeah. Because I think
especially if it's the same director. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that a lot of people don't really consider with leaked information is that they never really go back on designs or concepts ever. So, for example, we had a Farfetch'd evolution in Gen 2, but Madame has nothing to do with Sirfetch'd at all. They are two completely unrelated Pokemon. But there have been a few times where it's happened. There was Leafeon is literally the same Pokemon as in Gen 2, just redesigned because...
Let's get some different feet.
Rifi, because the Japanese name... its early name in Spaceball matches up with the Japanese name in the code for Battle Revolution. So it's definitely the same thing. And then also we have that revision of Sableye, which turned into Mega Sableye, 1,000,000%.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's possible, but we only saw a handful of stuff from Gen 6, and they were either early iterations of existing designs or things that they very, handedly scrapped on, never going back to, like the Peanut Pokemon, like Mega Jinx, that sort of thing.
The Peanut Pokemon is so cool. I think about it still.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. It feels like such a final design too. I mean, a lot of the other ones, I think there's a chameleon. There's that bird Pokemon, that fire bird Pokemon. Those are cool designs, and I think they could be their own Pokemon, but they still feel like they're missing something to make them beyond just an animal. But the peanut dragon, the peanut dinosaurs. Print it. That was
perfect. Y'all are sleeping on the little water bug, though. He's cute.
That one's good. That one's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's also interesting that we know who designed those for the X and Y mon specifically because they're in folders named by staff. So we'd have to really gauge if if Kitakaze is working on ZA, and I I have no idea. That guy's freelancing, so it's really
Yeah,
hard to tell.
right. It's true.
Yeah.
I do
Anyone
like
else?
that dragon fruit Venusaur though.
Yeah.
I want that back.
Wait, which one?
The dragon fruit Mega Venusaur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there were all these different variations of the Mega Evolutions that we got, and I understand they're just concept art, but if we end up with a new type of Mega Evolution, like mechanically it's still Mega Evolution, but they put a fresh coat of paint on it so they can sell it in a different way, they can market it in a different way, right? It's not the same old thing that you know about from 15 years ago. It's a new thing that you have to buy this game to understand and interact with, right? Maybe we get new Z forms. That's what everyone's speculating about on Twitter. And maybe they go back to those older concept designs that we've now seen, and kind of bring and ushered some of those back into the canon. I could totally see that.
I want that cassowary.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
You already said that in the chat, and I was like, yes.
No, I do want it. I do want it. What about you, Hybrid?
Stuff like that
Are
is
you working?
odd.
But I feel like we haven't talked to
time.
Hybrid all year. I'm curious if you got anything to add to this.
To Legends Z8, bro, like I don't mean to be that guy, but like since the Terra leak, I haven't really like thought about anything or like wanted to think about anything because I'm like, bro, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm just like, let things come and then we'll figure it out and we'll see what's
All
there.
right, that's fair.
I'm kind of done with speculation.
You've been doing that for 12 months, you know?
No, I get you.
They're giving you nothing.
ZA is like so weird because now like we don't get anything about Pokemon's production. Like we have to interpret things from the smallest stuff, and you know, before we would get like developer interviews and all this sort of thing, but now that just doesn't happen. Not until the game comes out, at least. So it's dry in like a very weird way.
Yeah.
Even for Pokemon.
Zactoshi, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm kind of like similar to like Hybrid. I feel like, at least for me, the leaks didn't kill the speculation for me, but I'm just kind of like, there's nothing to go off of. I feel like at this point, almost 12 months, almost a year since we gotten the reveal, everything that could be said about what's going to happen in ZA, I feel like has been said. It's just like, because of how little they've shown off, like maybe we had like a gameplay trailer or something, but we just know it's going to be in Kalos, specifically Lumio City, and Mega Evolution's back. I mean, there's like so little to go off of at that point. I really hope that like the gameplay obviously is similar to Legends Arceus. I'm curious to see how that gameplay will work in a setting that is like more urban in a city, because you know it fits with like the more open world kind of side of Legends Arceus. But I'm curious how it's gonna play in a city. So that seems exciting. I've seen like a few like fan art and stuff like that on Twitter. People like their own interpretation of like a full-fledged like to scale sides of Lumio City, which that seems pretty cool. But aside from that, I don't know. I just hope that there's new megas, Mega Greninja maybe, hopefully. Just something for Greninja, that's it.
I mean, we haven't spoken to you since the launch, so I you know, you say like, oh, it's all been said before, but I wonder if there's anything specific to you that like kind of excites you. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts like just think back like 8 months from ago? Like, was there something? Didn't you guys watch it like in New York? I'm just curious if.
Oh, that was a hype time.
Yeah,
we're all together.
That was great. That was great.
It's still the same game. Still the same.
I know it's
hype.
the same game. Just
God.
it's
Just months later.
Yeah, I guess I've never like formally given my opinions here, so I'll say. I mean, very exciting. Obviously, I love me some Kalos. I already said I'm curious to see how Lumio City will come into play, because we didn't know about that like right away. That was like, it was a Nintendo account that said that, which was interesting. It was like, it's kind of weird. We got more information about these games from the Nintendo account than Pokemon themselves, ironically. Just that one line of dialogue. But I'm curious to see how they're gonna bring back some Mega Evolutions. Obviously, we're gonna get some new ones. I wonder which ones will come back, because since we're gonna be in a city, there's gonna have to be some kind of way they can tweak around with the decks, like how some Pokemon are gonna be there. You know, like like I'm curious, like how, like let's say I'm sure they're gonna find some way to have like Gyarados or Magikarp in the game, but it's just like Gyarados is just gonna pop up in Lumio City, or like a magic card came into
No,
the
I hear
sewer
you.
line or something.
Like to your
that.
point, it's like how are they gonna get Mega Mewtwo in the game, right? Like how does that fit into the story? Are they gonna have? I totally get you. Yeah. Are they gonna have those like space time distortions in order to incorporate those like crazy Pokemon? I get you.
The thing that with space time distortions though is like that fit made sense for Legends Arceus and Sinnoh. With Kalos, especially since you're in a city, I feel like you're gonna be like stretching the line of like how they're gonna try to bring some Pokemon back. I'm sure they're gonna find some way because there's no way you're gonna have like a new Pokemon game and not have some way to have like a Charizard X come out again. You know, like
I like the idea of Hoopa creating all these little portals.
No, bro, don't say that.
I think that's lazy though.
Do not say Hoopa ruins every single thing. Hoopa ruins everything it touches. I love Hoopa.
Old theory now.
It's a Pokemon, but it ruins every medium.
Yeah, that movie was so
I was telling
some
Zach
people are really hurt from the movie. I think.
That thing.
No, it's not even the movie. I was telling
I don't know
Zach.
why they released that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying I don't know why they released that year one of Unite. That is a horrible, horrible thing to fight in that game.
Oh, Hoopa.
Yeah, bro. See, okay, so I was telling Zach and John, Hoopa ruined Unite. Hoopa ruined the anime, the movie, and in the manga, like Ruby and Sapphire is considered like the best manga arc, but Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is considered the worst because of Hoopa. Because Hoopa is the major plot point of the one of the main plot points of the story, and Hoopa just ruins everything.
Yeah, my friend, such an easy way to like incorporate multiverse and how to bring everything along. Like it's just such an easy answer. Like instead of thinking creatively, like sometimes Pokemon just like, why is this here? Oh, because Hoopa's here. Like that.
Right.
Kind of an easy way out.
The reality with Pokemon storytelling is like Legends Arceus. Everybody thought it was going to be about like something to do with the way the universe is created. Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, all those theories came around, and then the story was just unprecedented. I feel like when people talk about upcoming Pokemon games, especially in a Legends context, it's like, are we going to go to find the original dragon, or are we going to explore this other thing that we've already had? And it's probably not, right? It's probably something generally unrelated that we don't even know about, and then they're going to lay existing concepts on top of that.
Do you have any hopes, AJ?
I mean, we talked about what I hope, and it's controversial amongst this crowd, I guess, because generally I just like playing Pokemon games for a long time. Like I'm still playing Sword and Shield. I still actively play Scarlet and Violet.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you just said you like playing Pokemon games for a long time, but you started earlier complaining about how you're taking a long time to do the Battle Frontier.
Yeah, because the thing about the Battle Frontier is it takes a long time arbitrarily. It's like it takes a long time because it's random and the game actively like pushes you out basically. And that's more so what I was like leaning to about it being controversial, because I think that there's ways to make Pokemon games last longer naturally, rather than it being like the old school like arcade style of like, we just want to take all your quarters. Like, we want to make you frustrated. We want to make you be like, oh, well, I'll beat it this time. But instead want you to come back, like it's the Saturday morning cartoon. It's like, oh shoot, this new thing is here. That's cool. Like it was disappointing to me that Arceus doesn't like really naturally have anything to make me want to play it. Like if I'm looking at Twitch, I see more people streaming Pokemon Sword and Shield than are streaming Arceus.
Really?
And that's crazy.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe it.
Oh, probably like the raids, shiny hunting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dynamax Adventures.
Because like even like all the stuff that there is to do in the post game, there's a number. It's like, okay, I want to get a shiny dex in this game. Sure. And once you get all the shinies, you're done.
No, that's so true, because
whereas like
the amount of Pokemon is way limited in Legends Arceus compared to most other main series games. That's a good point. Yeah. You kind of get done with that batch of Pokemon.
I'm just glad that Legends Arceus plays like Legends Arceus and not Sword and Shield. Okay, that's fair.
I'm glad it exists.
I agree. I like Legends Arceus, but to me, in my head, it was more exciting as like a proof of concept. It was like, this is something cool that we can incorporate into the broader scene of everything. It becoming its own series just makes it feel small to me.
I think the harsh truth about Pokemon games is that they are always kind of designed to be replayable in a sense, even not just on a new playthrough, but like post game, new game plus, however you want to describe it. The problem with Legends and Scarlet and Violet is that they are very first time experiences, and I think the games are better because of it. But I think they're treading away from the past kind of design. I mean, like Scarlet and Violet.
I think Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are still playable in the post game, like ongoing. I think Arceus does a worse job.
I think he means replayable.
Oh, you're saying like start them again?
Well, yeah, but I think it's like a combination, right? So Pokemon games have always kind of incentivized that you have a team of guys, and then next time you can replay it, there's a different team of guys. It's fairly unique for like an early RPG to do that. The thing with Scarlet and Violet that makes that not great is because there's like 40 mandatory trainer battles in the game, and none of them even really are hard or meta. And once you've explored an area in an open world, it feels already explored. You can't recontextualize that with a new cast if you're not battling very many trainers there.
I think also there's not enough interesting things that are randomized that happen in the region of Paldea for what you're saying. Like, you can play through it again, and it is like, I guess the argument would be, well, all open world games aren't the same when you play it a second time. But I would argue there's so much like randomized and specific content and like little moments throughout the region of Skyrim or GTA where that encourages replayability. But in Scarlet and Violet, it's like the only main things are the 5 team star. There's like the 5.
Sorry to interrupt, Dusty. I'm gonna have to get going. But if you guys are here in half an hour, I'll hop back in. All right. Nice talking to all you guys. Later.
Yeah. I also got to be heading off. So
Sounds good, man. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks
gotta eat some lunch, make some videos, and possibly stream. But
happy holidays.
No, this is great. Yeah.
Have
a good chat, everyone. Thanks for having me. Oh no, this camera. Adios. At least Navidad.
No, I get you.
Does everyone think that there will be new Mega Evolutions in ZA?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. 1,000,000%.
Most likely, but I wouldn't be surprised.
There's not a lot of them, but
I really think they're going to do something different, though. I really think they're going to like introduce megas, but it'll be like a variation of what we already know about, right?
Yeah, I mean they're not battle focused.
So.
Say it again.
I'm saying there's probably going to be no held items. And if they do that, it's going to be interesting. Mega Evolutions have always been not great in the fact that they just kind of exist as designs first and like gameplay second. I think they need to solve that problem because it's not going to be like a competitive game either. Yeah. So they need to try and fix that. That's why I'm a bit cautious.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks that, because that is.
Oh no, I feel like that's very valid.
Yeah,
I think that
I post something about it and people freak out. But whatever.
One thing that I get excited for is like, of course, there's thinking about like the obvious megas, right? Like we talk about Mega Greninja, or even like Noivern's a pretty popular Calismon. Like the ones that like I don't know, are I don't want to say obvious, but you know are popular. They do some of those, you know, Mega Lucario, Mega Garchomp. Yeah. But like for me, I'm also excited to see like if they do new megas, which I think they will, the megas that like we're not thinking of, you know, these just random mods, like how they did Pinsir and stuff. I want to see Mega Xatu and Mega Fearow and Mega Seeking and Mega Victory Bell and Mega, just all these weird ones, you know?
I like you just said all Gen 1 Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a Gen 1 or
I mean,
Gen 2. There was one Gen 2.
There was one Gen 2. Xatu, you know? Oh, but I do think the majority will be from Gen 1. I mean,
so something I think about often
sad truth
is Mega Evolutions. So that's the first gimmick. It kind of set the stage, and it kind of ended up being the only battle gimmick that was specific to a few Pokemon, where all the other gimmicks, if there was something specific to a singular Pokemon, there was a wider, more like easily
There's like
available
a version for everybody else.
Available for all Pokemon. And I wonder if they might retcon Megas to where maybe specific Pokemon get like the 100 base stat total upgrade, but then maybe there's like a lesser version where it's like a 75 base stat total upgrade and just like an aura around the Pokemon. I think that could be really interesting.
In the card game at the same time Megas were introduced, didn't they also introduce like the break cards where they get all gold and it's like their own thing? Yeah. And it's like it's basically the same as the Mega cards, but for Pokemon without Megas.
That's really cool. Yeah, I don't know if that happened during the same time period, but I guess it was Gen 6, right?
I think he did. I have like a memory of opening like a Mega Blastoise 10 and getting a Machamp break from it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, honestly, I could, and we saw like terrestrialization was in a lot of ways similar to the Delta species cards from the TCG. So maybe there is, we could look at the TCG as something that they might do in the future. That's interesting. Lockstin, do you have any
there's
spinning
there's
theories?
Pokken. Like in Pokken,
yes.
when you do your special, there's like Pokemon that do Mega Evolve, and then there's other ones that don't have Mega Evolutions.
Yeah.
But they still have their little
And there's that like
forms.
Dark Mewtwo, that like version of like a Shadow Mewtwo.
Oh god, Shadow Mewtwo.
Yeah. That's really cool. So I don't know. I think there's room for that. But I was going to say, Lockstin, I don't know if you have any theories that you've been kind of toying with all year long. I don't think we have really talked to you much about Legends ZA.
We talked to him about the world, basically. Remember? I don't know if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the map.
I don't have anything big, but
No.
I do think they're definitely going to redesign like Luminos City.
Yeah.
If it is entirely based in there. And I know a lot of people are like worried about like how are they going to make the whole game be in a city, but like backing way up to when I first joined the chat, my game of the year was definitely Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Yeah.
And I feel like the open world in that would translate really well to Legends ZA. It's like a small city, not the biggest map, but it still feels so rich and alive, and there's new stuff constantly.
Wow.
And I think doing that as a baseline would work really well.
I'm looking at pictures of Infinite Dragon right now.
I think that people have got to also just like have some sort of expectations. It sounds crass to say, but like a lot of people that talk about Pokemon games don't play games other than Pokemon. So I think looking to other things to reference that is good. One thing that is super easy to me, and Tears of the Kingdom did this fairly well, to a degree. There's you can just make Kalos multi-layered. The entire the Paris catacombs are like such an easy out for them to add like a whole new layer of mons that they just could not do otherwise. There are so many Pokemon that would not fit above ground, but that would easily fit there.
Dude, I was just
catacombs are huge.
Yeah, the last time we spoke about this, I think was with Hoops on a stream, but and I was just watching that video, and now I'm thinking that's what they did in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. They added a whole underground with catchable Pokemon. So absolutely, we could see something like that in this new Kalos game.
But hopefully better than that.
Oh god,
I still think it was pretty good. I mean, what was wrong with it? It was just a map.
It was just like a farm for catching Pokemon.
Though. I don't know if you want my hater dial turned up to 10 right now.
Do it. We'll make a clip.
Well, okay. I don't know why they decided to just nuke all of the customizability out of the secret bases. None of the Pokemon decisions make sense. All of the platinum ones that you can get can't evolve because they don't have the items in the main game.
That's bad.
It's just an absolute mess. They like walk around like they're toys. Like in Sword and Shield, you could interact with them and they would like run away from you.
Reading
or
a
teleport.
tweet right now.
No, this is just, I've thought about this every single day since those games came out. Okay, horrible games.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool to catch those underground Pokemon. Just slip that in there. I do think it was that one feature was nice, but
I think it's okay.
It's just a shame, but it was attached to.
Yeah. What was that, AJ? Sorry.
I think they could also just like expand, like from the inside out. It's like if you look at a Pokemon, if you look at Pallet Town in Pokemon Yellow versus the anime, for instance, like they have certain ideas that's in the games that's like, oh, okay, that's Professor Oak's lab, but there's not just like 5 buildings there. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole town versus just a couple places to facilitate a Game Boy game.
And I think
the hard thing with extrapolating outwards is we have a map of Lumiose that they clearly want to use. With Pallet Town, it's like they had to create something out of very little. And they do this with the anime in like every instance, except for the new one, which is like really accurate to Paldea for some reason. But now it's like they've already, made that bed. They already have this map, and we already know what the layout is going to be like vaguely. So it makes it difficult. Now we have to like try and attribute like scale to that existing map. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be hard. It's something I've always wanted for sure.
In here for ZA, who's team past and who's team's future?
Are we talking about what we want?
I can't wait for it to be set.
What
like
we think.
3 years after.
I think it's Team Pass.
Team Pass.
I would hope for past, but
hope for past.
I think I'm on the line now. I'm not sure.
I kind of want to. I mean, I'm always fence sitting stuff like this, but I really hope it's set during the present, because my big nightmare is that the Legends series is just like an aesthetical thing, and that Legends Arceus had all of this really cool gameplay and like emergent design, and we're gonna, God, if I see that trailer on Pokemon Day and it's Scarlet and Violet overworld gameplay, I'm going to be so upset.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping to God that Legends is just a gameplay thing. It's a gameplay thing, and it's not a contextual, like, historical thing.
I was actually going to ask this question. This is like a bigger question. It is kind of somewhat based in Terra League stuff, but not exactly. We had a huge discussion on the podcast recently, and I'm kind of disappointed by a lot of things that we've heard about ZA in general. And just so the question is, what if they stripped, like, what makes the Legends game to you? Yeah. Like, because what if they strip everything from it except for basically the gameplay mechanic? Like, what if you're not getting...
That's what I want. I want them to do that.
Yeah, but you don't you not like the gameplay mechanic, though?
I love the gameplay.
No, I do like the gameplay. That's what I like about it. That's what I like about it. I wish that they took out the gameplay mechanic and put it in Scarlet and Violet. I don't like the smaller scope of the game. That's what I don't like.
Okay, that's fair. The thing is, I'm thinking like they take away. So in our discussion, we were talking about like the starters being the Kalos starters. You know what I mean? So like they take away the mixed starters about it. Sure. If we're talking about like if it's in the past or the future. If it's in the present, it's not. It loses all of the charm of having it being set in the past and you having no ancestors. There's not going to be ancestors. There's not going to be descendants. Nothing. It's basically just like a X2 Y2 thing. And like
when you pitch it like that sounds not so bad. That sounds.
If you're okay with that, that's fine.
But yeah, that sounds amazing. Hold on.
Right.
The Z we never got.
I agree with all of that, but at the same time,
it's not Legends. Yeah,
it's not Legends. It's just the only thing about it that keeps Legends is we know that the catching mechanic is going to be the same. Like there's no like that is the baseline.
It shows it in the trailer. There's like even a trainer. It shows them chucking a Pokeball.
So like, are you upset when there's no more ride Pokemon? Do you know what I mean? Or like,
so. Yeah. When it comes to like individual stuff like that, you kind of have to view it in a vacuum. Like, why are ancestors a good thing? And the reason for it is because Diamond and Pearl's terrible character designs actually get to be used in a cool new context and get redesigns.
That's true.
But like as well, there are some ancestors that do not need to exist, and that's why they were like super side characters. Like Colza, the guy that manages the farm, is Gardenia with a beard, right? And that can be like subversive and funny, but also like ancestors weren't perfect, and I'd like to see like, hey, maybe if they do it 20 years in the future, 30 years in the future, that's still present. That's still like contemporary.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a complete new aesthetic, but we get like maybe adult versions of a bunch of existing characters. We get Old Man Sycamore. We get a lot of crazy,
which are functionally
the
same thing. You know?
Yeah. No.
You get Bonnie and it's not Bonnie and Clyde. It's Bonnie and the other
Clement.
Bonnie and Clement, and they're 20 years older. Those are completely different like key arts. You know?
Yeah, and also it's like, the Legends put Ingo in that game and didn't change him at all, and that was he is like the most interesting character in the game because of his environment, not because he's a different character, right?
Right.
So
but that's
it's
kind
mainly
of the
just
point
like the environment around them.
That is kind of the point, though. Like I just don't know how excited I am. Maybe you guys are, but I'm not so excited about an environment of just like Lumio City that we've already kind of been to, but like 20 years in the future or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Last time it was really bad, and you couldn't even save in there without your game dying. So.
Yeah, I know. Lumio's the one that we know is terrifying to me.
Hopefully, you can do that now, right?
It'll be
surely
really
we're
funny.
allowed to save in the city this time.
Funny.
Anyway, that's my question. I don't know.
They got to do some Undertale stuff, and you save in the city, and your game like breaks, but not actually.
Yeah, exactly. Legends it's just scary. It's so scary. I'm just gonna wake up on Pokemon Day and it's gonna have Scarlet and Violet catching, and it's my worst nightmare.
Oh, bro, I don't think that's happening, but that'd be bad.
There's just a lot of things about Legends Arceus that people enjoy, and I think what we're going to end up seeing is an extraction of each of those different elements that people enjoy, and some of them will be present, some of them will not be. And one of the things that might not be there in Legends ZA is the historical time period, right? It might just be modern day, and maybe it's like that was specific to the Hisui region. That was a device that they used to tell that story, and it just might not Yeah, and maybe for Legends ZA, it just makes more sense for it to be 20 years in the future, or modern day, right? 5 years in the future or something.
Well, that was Soul's question. Like, that's the question we've tackled a bunch on this pod. Is like, what we've had one Legends game, so what makes that Legends game a Legends game?
Yeah.
Because like, obviously everything about it feels iconic, but what about that being iconic is iconic to Legends Arceus or is iconic to the Legends series? Because like, I'd say like, you know, some of that stuff might go like, we feel like, oh, you know, the mixed region starters are iconic to Legends Arceus or to Legends games, but really like, those are the ones that I'm least expecting to return, because it made sense for Legends Arceus because for one, like, you
because of the setting,
just
because of the story,
right?
Yeah,
because of the story, and because Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl was 2 months ago. Whereas with X and Y, we never got a follow-up game. We never got a Z or X2, Y2. So you have gotten to choose the Kalos starters one time.
Yeah,
you've gotten to choose the Sinnoh starters 3 times if you include Diamond and Pearl, Platinum, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. So it makes a lot of sense for ZA to go, hey, your starters are just the Kalos starters.
Yeah.
You know, is the time period iconic to Legends games or is it iconic to Legends Arceus?
Yeah, I think, just to set you guys up if you want to think about this, but I think what defines the Legends game is how the player character and how, you're right, an analog for us as a player navigates the world. I think it is the fluidity of even just moving and traversing, whether it's on foot or all the different ride Pokemon. I think it's the fluidity of capturing Pokemon. Like, I'm trying to complete my decks in Scarlet version right now, and it's so agonizing it's just tedious. It's tedious, right? I'm like, I see the Pokemon. Let me just throw a Pokeball. That's an element of it. It's the way you can interact to collect items. And then you use those things as resources, right, to create new things. And there's like a baby version of that system, of that like resource system in Scarlet and Violet. And I think that's also why the world of Paldea feels empty, because you collect things, but there's really no reason to collect things, right? I don't need 500 Orin berries. You know what I'm saying?
With
then
Paldea
give them here.
With Paldea as well, that Scarlet and Violet's core issue is that it's an open world that does not have any open world mechanics that coalesce into gameplay.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, all of the gameplay is like, oh, you make a sandwich. What does that have to do with the open world? Right? Like, nothing.
It has to do with making eggs.
Context. With Terra raids, you go into like the crazy Terra dimension, and then you come out, and it has nothing to do with the overworld. The exploration for them is going to a waypoint marker. That sort of thing Legends doesn't have. It's really good at, like, I would argue probably better than Breath of the Wild at like breadcrumbing you to like different points. It's like, oh, there's a Pokemon over there. There's a berry tree over there. Then you go over here and you can do this thing at the same time, and that's what's great about Legends. And it's just really up in the air right now. I don't know. It's hard.
What I'm also kind of thinking about now is, like, theoretically, Legends ZA will be back to back with the Gen 10 game. So are those games really gonna be more different than we think, to ensure that they are not kind of, stepping on each other's toes, right? Because I would say all the things that we're listing about, why the open world in Paldea doesn't work, ideally those things would be remedied in the next generation game, because I can only imagine the next generation game is going to be open world as well. So I really don't think Legends ZA will be open world, but it's funny because I'm like, the things that I love about Legends Arceus make the world wonderful, so they probably should also carry those over into future Pokemon games, and hopefully they do.
And I think that added to the action element of it, like you running into a Rapidash that's a billion levels above yours, at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah, it leaves an impact. What was that, Zactoshi?
No, I was just thinking, like, technically, like, Legends Arceus, everyone was like, oh, open world Pokemon game, but technically it's not an open world Pokemon game, because, I mean, it feels open world because you have, like, these large areas to, like, explore, but they're technically, like, separated into, like, different sections, as opposed to, like, not Legends Arceus, Scarlet and Violet, where, like, hey, if I walk all the way to the end, I can get there type thing. So maybe, like, open world will continue to, like, be its thing in the main series, while the Legends series will be more, I guess, self-contained locations. But yeah, I feel like
Mario 64.
Yeah, like Mario 64, kind of like that. You know, it's like a sandbox location, but they're like kind of segmented. It's not like they're all connected in one place, but there's still a lot of like, fun to be had with that, though.
I do think it'll be very like story driven. You know, like just sticking with the plot of the whole thing through. I'm just like, my thing is losing like the culture part. I don't know about you, Lockstin, but for me, like digging into like the lore of everything, and I know Pokemon games always have it, but I just. We're just getting megas. Maybe we're not getting regional forms, and it's just like, do we get any kind of depth, or character for like Legends Arceus had this like character to it, and I don't know if it translates. That's what Lewis,
I think what I'm realizing is like that character is something that like I appreciate it, but it's kind of just a taste thing, and we might find out that that's not what defines these games, right?
It's also like
there's
so many.
Yeah, you want it to.
Yeah, there's so many kind of conflicting factors here. Like to go back to the open like zone type thing versus an open world. This game is maybe going to be a Switch 2 launch title. So even then, right, the way this game is designed is so up in the air because of the hardware that it's on. So that is already like a factor that we can't even know yet.
Yeah, true.
Secondly, when it comes to like visual design and aesthetic and like taste, I guess, and texture and flavor when it comes to like this, how this game looks. Legends Arceus doesn't really expand on existing lore that much. It doesn't like
it stands alone. Like it introduces new things, but you're saying like it stands alone. Like it doesn't interfere with the current story timeline.
Well, like I said earlier, right? It's like I feel like if you were to give a fan like, oh, let's make a Legends Unova game, it would all be about the original dragon and how that thing had come to be.
Yeah.
Legends tells a new story with that, with the existing context of Sinnoh. I mean, they created a new name for the region and things that people could not even like comprehend, right? Before that game released. So I think this game is probably going to be most of the same. We're not going to retread stuff. It's hard as well because this game has the added bonus of like having to clean up after X and Y.
Yeah.
X and Y never got a third version. There are so many ideas on the cutting room floor, and it's like,
right.
How much of Legends is going to be compensating for stuff that we did not already get? That's scary, but it's also like
that's true because it is like the game that everyone wanted. Yeah,
I think that like how we I guess truly won't know what makes a Legends title until we get ZA because we only have the one game to go off on Legends Arceus. But still, at least for me, I feel like what makes a Legends title is the fact that like Legends Arceus was in the past. It kind of adds more context and more depth to
it's a legend.
You're familiar. Yeah, it's a legend. Like if it's in the future, like it's hard to call it a legend when you're like in the future. It's like technically it hasn't even happened yet.
Living
like,
legends.
And it isn't as interesting like seeing into the future than like looking in the past and seeing what came from. Like I liked seeing how we saw basically the Hisui region turn into the Sinnoh region, right?
Yeah.
We're just learning about how it was before all these cities were built. And I'm looking forward to the same for ZA because like the implication is that like we're gonna see how Lumio City got developed into the one that we are familiar with in X and Y. So like maybe at the start of the game, the Prism Tower won't be built yet, and as you progress, by the end you'll see the full thing. So it's cool to see how that came to be, and it kind of like relates to like I guess like real life Paris, how they went through their whole urbanization and like basically became popular. Like back then it was pretty terrible and now it's great and everybody loves it. I think it'll be cool to traverse and see a Lumio City, obviously the city that's known for its beauty. That was the whole theming of XY, to see how it was before it was beautiful. Explore that, because let's explore it in the future, it can't be that different. I feel like unless you do like a Scarlet and Violet where it's like millions of years in the future where everything's robots, there okay, I guess it's different enough. But like to go 10-20 years after XY, it's like how different can it really be? It's like the same as like going from revisiting Kanto and Gold and Silver. Yeah, it's cool because you revisit this old place, but it's like it's not really that different from the original Kanto.
It's funny because everything I like about what you're saying about it is only because it sounds like a sequel to X and Y, which would be cool in a vacuum. Like I don't need it. The thing is like I don't need that in a Legends game. I almost want something else for a Legends game if that's the case.
It's so hard to predict as well because Game Freak, since Black and White 2, has done the opposite thing of what everybody.
I mean, even this game's existence, it was a surprise.
100%.
No one expected this.
I mean, the crazy thing is like you know, when you say the term legend, it invokes a certain feeling, and Game Freak has turned that feeling on its head so many times. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, everything that they've done since Gen 5 has been so unexpected, so out of left field, and if Legends is not set in the past, I wouldn't be totally surprised. I think it probably still will be. My safe bet is that it's about 100 or so years in the past, but I would also not be surprised if they are telling a new legend with that context.
Yeah.
So your team passed. Your team passed. Everyone team passed.
I'm team Vincent, okay? I have no concrete opinion.
I mean, I kind of am too. I would say I can see it being, you know, a little bit in the future. So like basically present. But yeah. I think we also forget about gimmicks, and like maybe there's a little gimmick in there that like something with time shenanigans happens.
So true. Like again, you guys were screaming about Hoopa, but like what if there's Hoopa?
I don't think it's gonna be Hoopa
that allows you to access certain parts in the future.
Yeah.
Right. And it really could just be like a palette swap, like the area could be a palette swap, but then certain characters show up, right? They did a similar thing in Black 2 and White 2.
Yeah, they did do that.
I mean, my like dream kind of game with a concept like that is something. There's one level in Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time, and it's like you go to the past, and then you actually like do something in the past, and then it influences the rest of the level in the future. If you could time hop to that degree, like Lumiose is probably going to be fairly small. But if we have some like light world, dark world, link to the past type thing, where we go through different eras at will, and we can see things in terms of progression, that would be exceptionally cool.
For me, I keep going back to how they introduced it, and it was ambitious. Do you know what I mean? And I think, is that because it's just all in the city, or is it because there's something about it that is ambitious? Like, it's not really that ambitious that we get like, you know, 30 new megas and that's it, and we have the same gameplay as Legends Arceus, and it's just an open world city. Is it that ambitious? I'm thinking is it because they want to sell their game, and by calling it ambitious, that helps that is
market
always
it.
an option. That is always
like they're not going to be like the same Pokemon game you've been playing for 25 years, you know?
True, but they I don't know. I feel like they stressed it. Maybe I'm.
No, I agree with you. Like I think they definitely are planning. I'm sorry, what were you saying, AJ?
They could have called it a Faithful Legends game.
Right. Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Like, I feel like they definitely are planning something ambitious here, because when you think about it, you know, they could have easily taken like the safe route when it comes to like the 2025 game and just make Black and White remakes, or even a Johto remake, or Let's Go, or whatever. That's what everyone was expecting. Nobody expected us to revisit Kalos. Why
Which
now?
I love.
Why did they
love
wait
that
till
so
now to
much.
do it?
You know?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great curveball. And I feel like there has to be a reason. Not like before, it felt like they made remakes because they were just checking off things off a list. You know, obviously we got to revisit, or as it's been a couple years since Ruby and Sapphire, here you go, you can replay Emerald. And then same with BDSP, it feels like they literally, when we got the trailer, like it's like they knew we wanted it, because everyone's asking for Gen 4, so it's like, here's your Gen 4, but then they made Legends Arceus as like, all right, Gen 4, but then there's something more, there's extra. Here they could have easily been like Black and White again, and then we'll get ready for Gen 10, but this is like, they really don't want this to feel like a filler year. They want it to feel like, hey, this is something special. So like they definitely have more planned than just like more megas and revisiting Kalos.
Yeah, I mean, it has the second longest development time of any Pokemon game. That wasn't like Red and Green, but that was like segmented.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Yeah,
like the ambition is very much that.
Yeah, I mean, you know from the leaks as well, Lou. Like that they delayed it. Like it's a delay, which that is.
Oh yeah, that is true.
To make more development time, but
I mean, Game Freak has always been like. It sounds stupid because everybody complains about these games, and for good reason a lot of the time. But Game Freak is weirdly responsive to criticism. It just takes them a few games.
I agree.
And the fact that they were so willing to delay this game to be like, hey, you know, we need to get this right, tells me that they want to do something special. Whether it's to, you know, make Kalos look better in hindsight, I don't know.
Yeah. Also on that note, I just was thinking about what you were saying, Zach, about like remakes, and I just don't know if they're going. Like, this might be their direction for future remakes. They might be like phasing remakes out almost, and just being like, we're just going to revisit the regions in a different context or a different style.
Break the
Which is-
pattern. Just bring us
Legends,
to wherever
Because
we
honestly,
And I think
I prefer
from,
that.
I think from the
Yeah.
leaks, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that BDSP was like never even planned. It was just supposed to be Legends.
That's
I don't know.
Not so. You'll see certain accounts say that, and the problem is like,
Yeah.
the problem is like, Game Freak got hacked. Ilka did not get hacked. The Pokemon Company did not get hacked.
It's true.
The
it's
only
true.
BDSP stuff we have from that leak are builds of Delphis sent to Game Freak for like testing and proofreading and probably home compatibility. Because they weren't even like early builds of the game; they are just debug builds that are like past 1.0. So, like, we don't know anything about BDSP's development besides the stuff that like we've documented as people that like mod and research that game very hyper focused.
So so two things. I do think so. We got some super chats. I just want to acknowledge some people in the chat. They've been waiting a long time. But to your point, Zach, I think if there is a reason, like I love the thought process of like, okay, what's the reason? Why are we going back to Kalos now? Why is it relevant now? The thing that I think about is geographically, Kalos should be very close to Paldea, right? It was kind of always teased in the original Paldea game. So I feel like there will be some inclusion of Paldean characters. If it is modern day, then you get to just experience almost a sequel to X and Y, and it's also kind of a sequel to Scarlet and Violet, where you have those Scarlet and Violet characters traveling to the Kalos region, into Lumio City. Where do people go when they go places? They go to cities, right? And then you get a whole, I don't know, you could spin that up and do a bunch of different things, right?
Also right next to Galar.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the past and future things right there too.
Yeah, it is. It totally is.
No.
So
I don't really want to like spoil anything, but like
spoil it.
Isn't it kind of close to the rumored Gen 10 place? From what I've heard, I didn't actually look super.
I mean, there is no.
I didn't.
There's
look
no
into
confirmation.
Much, but
on that.
What is the rumored Gen 10? I mean, I guess maybe put in the chat so like we don't spoil. people.
I don't mind. We can spoil our audience.
Oh, our
audience
knows.
We're trying to be respectful of you.
Yeah. I'll.
No, I'm
without,
fine with
okay.
I'll provide it without any context, I guess. It is like. It's just gonna be another Pokemon game. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I don't know. It's directed by Omori.
Pikachu will be in the Gen 10 game.
So it's supposed to be like a Mediterranean region.
No.
Something Mediterranean. Yeah.
No.
What do you mean?
That's
What do you mean?
Reading
No.
too far into it.
No. What do you mean? Wait. What do you mean it is? Wait. Where are you getting this from?
That's what the speculation ends up with. You start with the leak. You go to interpretation, then you go to speculation, and everyone's assuming.
Okay, well, we're not even there yet. Okay.
No, we're not even.
Right.
Yeah. Look. Okay.
What do you think it is?
It's gonna be like vaguely island based. That's all I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be a lot of different things.
So like I don't know.
Like
if
the
we're gonna
Mediterranean islands.
Yeah.
Sure, but like the last time we got some sort of archipelago was Alola, and that is just completely left field of anything Eurocentric or like around that area. So it could be anything.
The Philippines.
Could
be.
Honestly,
I
would not mind.
Everything
Rhode
I've heard
Island
is always pointing to Greece.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is entirely islands.
That's the rumors, Zach.
That's where people like are thinking, but it is based on like speculation. The only thing like quote unquote leaked is like islands. But
and Omori is going to be directing it, so we know that somebody is going to have a broken childhood at some point because that's happening in games.
Very true. Also, these things are these were things that leaked from 2022, like conversations, and so things can change. Things can change a lot. Like things that we have read can totally not be there.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I don't want to ever like put any chips on the table with the Gen 10 because there's so much stuff that can happen in game development.
Yeah.
Like you guys have seen all of the crazy early stuff
100%.
from every game in the series now. Like we have literally almost everything. So
that's
a wild ride.
100%. One of the things that the biggest thing from the Terra leak is like, wow, like a lot changes actually in development. Like it's not just
like the entire Gen 3 Pokedex. Like they had a whole complete Pokedex and then scrapped the whole thing aside from like a handful.
I mean, like it gets even crazier because you look at Spacewell 97, like that leaked 5 years ago, and from that we found out that Tajiri basically signed off as a director a year into development and then gave the whole project to Masada. Wow. And that entire region is completely different. The Pokédex is like 90% different. Yeah. They could have gone with that concept, but they didn't. And that was, I don't know. It's crazy. I don't think that sort of thing will happen. The production is more tight now, but yeah.
To play with the Greece thing here, though, Lockstin, one thing I've really liked that you've done on your channel is you've always talked about like mythicals hinting at like what's next. Yeah. And the only Gen 9 mythical we have is Petrarunt. And I will say Greece is pretty, I don't know a lot about Greece, but they're pretty well known for their peaches. I do know that. So, it's either Greece or Georgia. So
yeah.
The Georgia region confirmed.
Georgia.
Dude, that'd be sick. That'd be sick.
Do you want to do those super chats?
Yeah,
I gotta head out.
That sounds good, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to officially meet you and officially have you on.
Seriously, yeah.
Likewise, man. It's been a blast. Have a happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays,
you too, man.
Thanks for stopping by. Here, let's go back. We got a super chat a while ago by Charcific Valley. They said, we can't do this. They said, seeing as we got your top threes, what about your number 4, 5, and 6? I guess there's only like 5 of us. I guess we could do that.
Yeah, but these are the 2 that we're like, we don't know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, appreciate it, Char. I appreciate it, Char. Thank you so much. Egan Media joined as a legendary tier channel member. Thank you so much, Egan. Appreciate you. Yeah, we did an episode with Egan maybe like 6 months ago. That was a lot of fun. And then we got Brain Ache with the super chat, $5. Would you guys consider the redevelopment plan? Where is this? Being done to create habitats for wild Pokemon to live in the city.
I mean,
that's a cool idea.
Yeah,
I do like that.
I definitely.
I mean, it makes sense. They said like they're imagining like a city where Pokemon and people can coexist. So I mean, it lines up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to speculate on it just geographically because we know what Lumiose turns out to be, right?
Yeah.
So what happens?
But that's also assuming it's past, because if they're changing the Lumiose of now to something,
It might be like an ORAS situation where like there's just a different multiverse timeline, whatever. It could be anything.
I'm like thinking, so the present thing, it's like, isn't there something going on in Paris where they're trying to like make it more green or something, where you could just like, if it was in the present and there was something like this, it's like creating habitats for Pokemon to live in Lumiose compared to what it was, maybe, something like that.
It's possible.
It's an option. I can see this either way. I like this. But yeah, thank you for that.
Paris agreement, all green and everything.
Yeah.
Or just like cities in general, they update. You know what I mean? They let's change everything so that we can be more productive or be more.
And a nice Pokemon
efficient
way to tie this all in is use the green ecological legendary Pokemon Zygarde, right, to symbolize that.
True.
Right? Oh yeah. How do we think Zygarde's going to factor in? I think the obvious one is that they are going to add new forms of Zygarde that facilitate your traversal. So we're not going to get
I like
Pokemon,
that the
we're
best.
just going to get upgraded Zygardes that you can switch between.
It's a version of what we already got in Scarlet and Violet.
I hope they don't, just because like we just did the legendary ride Pokemon thing. So I would like if they just kind of made Zygarde like a traditional legendary where it's like the thing at the end. And I also like diversity. I like being able to ride on a Basculegion, but then run on a Weirdeer, but then fly on a Braviary.
What's nice about that is it feels like it's our own Pokemon team, right? I mean, we imagine traversing the Pokemon world with the specific Pokemon that we pick, and I think I enjoy the experience of Legends Arceus in that regard more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I hate on Let's Go a lot, but that's one thing I liked about Let's Go was that like, I could ride on so many different.
Wait, hold on. Why are you hating on Let's Go? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about this because I think Let's Go is underrated and overrated.
I have said all the time it is the prettiest Pokemon game on Switch possibly ever for mainline games. But I hate the gameplay. I am so sick of Kanto. Oh my god.
We have got to
make it again.
I want to go back. I want to go back to
Three
Kanto.
Kanto games in nearly 30 years.
30 years.
I think it's fine.
I want to go back to Kanto in a Legend style game. Legends Indigo.
I would
Let's
like
make
that,
it happen.
Yeah.
Give me a Kanto game set like 60, 70 years in the future and get new characters and have it be more high tech. I'd be super down for that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the nice thing too, is like if we went back to Kanto and it had something like it was a different Kanto, like, you know, people all the time are like, oh, we went to Sinnoh twice because we went to Brilliant Diamond, Shiny Pearl, and then Legends. And, like, I guess technically yes, but, like, also no. You know what I mean? Like, Hisui is, like, not remotely the same as Sinnoh, right? So that's kind of how I feel about Kanto. Like, every time I see Kanto, it's the same bland old Kanto.
And that's
like
the
Dusty,
problem.
you said like a Legends Indigo. If we get like a past game and like Kanto in that game is what Hisui is to Sinnoh, I don't even count that as a return to Kanto. I'm fine with that. I would like that.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, you also get people that like complain that Kanto is reused because we went to it in Johto when it's not even like the same area or like.
But what's nice about that is that it is a different
way.
interpretation of the region. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, like things happen since.
Yeah, there's a progression.
like,
it's literally 3 years later. So anything like that with Kanto, I think would be a-okay, and I'd welcome it actually. You know, bring Kanto into the modern age.
It's a boring region in my opinion.
It is boring. Literally in my 3-person group chat, we were talking about that.
I mean, and it makes sense that it is because, like, you know, back in Gen 1, you know, it's their first game. It's on a, you know, it's not on the Switch, right?
Yeah.
So but I kind of wish, like, one thing that I liked about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was they did their best to make Hoenn more interesting. They're like, you know, Mauville's supposed to be this hub city, but it's not really. Now is it? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it where it's like a giant freaking mall. Like whether or not you like the execution, I liked that they were like, okay,
Let's
you know,
change.
the Gen 3 Mauville doesn't really translate to the 3DS and look great. So I wish they'd do that with Kanto. Like, you're putting it on the Switch and you just remade the same Kanto region. Stop. Give me some cool cities and stuff.
Let's Go's, because I think Kanto as like a level is really, really good. How open it is for being like linear to a degree, it's really, really well handled.
Yeah.
And I even think they gate progression really well in Let's Go with just like the pacing. But that route design, I don't know why they are still like trying to crowbar like 3D game design onto stuff that was designed like 2x2 tiles. That horrible Route 14, the horrible fence route.
What's funny is the game is so old at this point. It's what is it, 7-8 years old? Like I do think if they were to go back to it, it would be different. I think they would try to attempt something different.
I also didn't like no wild battles. That's just because I'm a purist. You know, if I'm catching these Pokemon, I want to be getting attached to these Pokemon, and I feel attached to these Pokemon by using them. Yeah. But I'm only using them in trainer battles because there are no wild battles.
No,
like, even if I'm running from all Pokemon, just that like 10 seconds where like I throw out Charizard, then click run.
Yeah.
You know, I'm seeing my Charizard, but you're not really doing that in Let's Go.
I feel like they. No, you go on.
I was gonna change the subject.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I feel like they supplemented that with following Pokemon. So like that's
absolutely.
kind of where they meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really, and the following Pokemon are really effective because this is actually Jake's whole take from earlier in the stream, but basically the following Pokemon in that game are specific to, or the experience of watching and enjoying the following Pokemon in that game are specific to the players who actually go out and capture those Pokemon. If you catch a Bellsprout, you're rewarded by the following animation. And I think it actually is effective in Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, and it's effective in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. No other game where there's following Pokemon is that feature effective.
Yeah. I think Let's Go does a really good job of like, I mean, Legends as well, right? Like these are the two. Let's Go is like a proto Legends in a lot of weird ways. And I think it's going to take people a long time to
Yeah, Steve's always talking about that on PK Mencast.
Yeah, it's just like making like the game is smaller, the scope is smaller, but it makes every Pokemon, every creature, every character like more idiosyncratic. Yeah, and I think that's probably for the best. Totally. When you have like, you know, Kanto as it exists already like 20 times. So.
Yeah, we're gonna have to unfortunately wrap up soon, but I was just thinking, I was gonna ask you, Lockstin. Like, do you have like a dream Pokemon game? Like, is there like a genre that you would like to apply Pokemon to, or is there like a very niche part of the Pokemon games that you're just like, this needs to be fleshed out more?
One thing I always kind of go back to is just the idea of crossing over Pokemon with a grand strategy game, kind of like Civilization and stuff. That's very out there though, but that's like
I like that
dream
kind of. That's really cool. Yeah, I wonder if they are those
the
popular games right now.
I don't know about right now. Civ 7's coming out soon.
Okay.
But like Civ 6 is another one of my favorite games of all time, and like just the idea of building up a Pokemon region from like 1,000 years in the past, and you got like Pokemon Conquest style battles, but that are based on how well you've built your region, kind of thing.
That reminds me.
It feels like they would try and contextualize that in like a mini game.
Yeah.
In like a modern game, not necessarily with that like aesthetic or vibe, but like that type of gameplay.
It reminds me a little bit of like, I could see them making a version that's similar to like the Pokemon version of like a Mario Maker, right? It's like, pick your region, pick your starters, pick the da-da-da-da-da-da, and then it's like, truthfully, I don't know if that's something that would actually exist, but I could see a version of that where there's more customization.
This is opening a whole new can of worms in a little bit, but it's just like, I don't see why they don't, and this is funny coming from me, but just like they're already kind of doing it with other game styles, but they could literally adapt Pokemon to tons of different things.
Yeah,
just Animal Crossing. It's so easy. Bro. Literally just replace the animals with Pokemon.
Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, they kind of have that.
Maybe.
Yeah, Pokemon's kind of like that. I mean, you don't want so much too, but
I said Super Smash Brothers, and then I looked at AJ and I was like, oh, he's gonna pipe up. He's gonna say something.
Pokemon Pokemon is like designed around, I guess, like trying to fit everything contextually in this bubble. So to take it out of that is really, really difficult. They have to put a lot of work into kind of making that its own thing, like Conquest, right? It is like so ridiculous and non-canon, and like the region is shaped like Arceus, but like it's it like exists in this like vacuum, and it kind of has to. So it's difficult for sure.
For sure, I agree, but it should happen.
All right. Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to end soon. It's almost been 5 hours, but thank you, everyone. Thank you guys for being here, for hanging out at the party. I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate everyone being here in the chat. There will be links in the description to see all of these great creators.